Hello friends, a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Vikas Bhardwaj and we are going to take up a very important topic, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. So kindly be patient, go with me through all slides so as to understand evolution of climate change process, what happened at what conference. You will be familiar with the names of conference and also key developments at all the stages. Once you understand that, your ability to understand not only current affairs but also what is happening in the climate change arena will be much more clearer and better. Our goal is to understand the evolution and also key developments. So what is so special about UNFCCC? It is an international environmental treaty. It is not the first one, but it is an international environmental treaty which was signed in 1992 at UN Conference on Environment and Development at Rio de Janeiro, that is Earth Summit. That is very important to remember. And it came into force in 1994. Now, if we talk about today's times, it is nearly a universal membership convention, and you can say that more than 196 countries they have ratified the convention. That means UNFCCC is very integral to international governance system. That means like other key areas, it is also very much part of it, and that is why every country have a stake in it, whether directly or indirectly. That is what we will see. Now, what is the main aim of UNFCCC? Because if it is so important, the aim is to stabilize greenhouse gases concentrations. That means greenhouse gases which are creating, or you can say rising the temperature, that is what it is supposed to prevent because of anthropogenic, or you can say human induced activities, infrastructure, or it is consumption or deforestation, or you can say increase in carbon dioxide concentration because of aviation and so on. They are all linked with our activities and they are interfering with the climate system, thereby bringing long term negative changes. So that is why a framework should be there, a time framework should be there by which we can have a sustainable development. Our work must also go, and there must not be any kind of chhedchhad, that's what we say, with the climate system. That is what UNFCCC aims at. That is why comes into picture COP. Now COP, otherwise we say police, but here it is the supreme decision making body of the convention. COP is a term which is used for decision making body. So all those parties, all the countries which are member of COP, or you can say of this convention, they form part of COP. They review everything, they discuss, they bring into legalities, they take decisions, they are also responsible for effective implementation. There is no other party, no other group, no other body which is responsible for understanding and making changes to climate change. It is the role of COP. That is what we can say. And the relationship that we see between UNFCCC and other Rio conventions, because as we said that it happens at the Earth Summit, that is Rio convention, two other sister conventions were also there. They are also very important from the examination perspective. You have to remember that apart from UNFCCC, there was UN Convention on Biological Diversity, okay, Convention on Biological Diversity, and Convention on Combating Desertification. They are indirectly linked with climate change, obviously, but then here we are just mentioning them so that you can understand that it is the cooperation among these conventions which is very much important to develop synergy. That means एक तरीके का, you can say, harmonious relationship which is of mutual concern for all countries, whether they are developing, least developed countries, or you can say super rich countries. That is why we can say what are the two main outcomes of UNFCCC. If there is UNFCCC, there must be certain kind of outcomes. One was Kyoto Protocol in 1997. Other great deal is Paris Agreement in 2015. It took more than 15 years, you can see, that to come to certain agreement. Obviously, Paris Agreement is more into contemporary discussions, but then the story starts from Kyoto Protocol. Now, if we talk about first COP, the first decision-making body which was meeting out in Berlin, Germany in 1995, it was raising concern that something must be done because of the changing environment, because of the rise in temperature. Something must be done. That is why countries were asked that what steps should be taken. So there was body for scientific and technological advice and subsidiary body for implementation. They came together, and on the basis of the already existing research and the scientific investigations, it was found that something have to be done in a joint manner. That is why international climate action, the idea of international climate action comes into picture. And in 1996, that is at COP2, that is how we will say COP2, COP3, COP4. So they are COP. So you have to just understand what was happening at what time. At Geneva, for the first time it was accepted in a scientific way that something is happening to the climate. So Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, it is giving its assessment reports from time to time. It is having world body of scientists. From India, Mr. Pachauri, or you can say Dr. Pachauri, was a very important integral part. He was related with TERI, that is Tata Energy Research Institute. Now, what was happening at Geneva is that it went on to understand and reject that there must be uniform harmonized policies. It was saying no, it is not possible that everybody is going to take part in an equal manner. There must be some kind of positive discrimination, like the way we see with respect to Indian constitution. That is why they were talking about flexibility. Those who are emitting more, those who can handle more, they should be given more responsibility, and those who can't, they must be given a chance to develop. So good news for India. And it was also talking for legally binding midterm targets. You know how difficult it is at the international level to make things legally binding. We know the role of international Code of Justice, or we say United Nations. It is so difficult. That is why story is good, ideas are also good. They are talking about let's do something as a family, and those family members who are more powerful, they must do more. Those who are less, they must do less. But let's see, is it really possible to do so? That is what is the you can say story of UNFCCC talks about. Now at Kyoto, that is in 1997, ideas came up. Kyoto went on to even define what are those gases, greenhouse gases. So in greenhouse gases, it was talking about carbon dioxide, it was talking about chlorofluorocarbon, ozone, nitrous oxide, and methane, sulfur hexafluoride, even hydrofluorocarbons, as I just said, and chlorofluorocarbons will also form part of it. So these are the gases, uh, these are the gases which form very important part of greenhouse gas concentration. There are other gases also, but these like hydrofluorocarbons, or you can say chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur hexafluoride, and so on, they are the key parts. So three mechanisms got developed at that time. They went on to talk about three mechanisms. One is emission trading. That means whatever emissions are being there by any countries, especially some specific countries, because they are the one who are responsible, they will be able to trade it. And second was clean development mechanism by which environmentally sensitive, or you can say environmentally suitable mechanism will be developed. And joint implementation, if two countries can do together something for climate change, it is more than welcome. So three ideas are coming. That is what I was just talking about. So joint implementation is between two industrialized countries. There can be transfer of one technology, there can be reduction in emissions. When one country is having certain targets, it is able to achieve its targets, it can help other country and get some more credit. Clean development mechanism, a country like Germany, country like Denmark can do something for Sri Lanka, can do something for India. They can transfer technology, they can transfer funds, they can help in certain kind of development. That will be part of CDM, and in return they will get certain credits, or you can say certified emission reductions. And similarly, international emission trading was also one point. That was, you can say, they will be able to buy and sell emission credits. So whole idea was to keep a balance, balance, or keep a system, because the country which are developed already, they were not looking for giving up their status under any circumstances. That is the key thing. Those who are poor, they must not be deprived of their growth under any circumstances. But if climate change is not stopped, then the countries, like whether rich or whether poor or whether least developed, everything will be in danger, everything will be on the verge of extinction. That is how climate change is to be seen in these circumstances. So that is how countries are divided on the level of their development, on the level of their industrialization. So all industrialized countries are part of Annex 1, including OECD, that is Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, and also economies which are in transitions, for example like Russia, Baltic states, and so on. So you can say rich world is part of Annex 1. Similarly, Annex 2 is also again rich parties, rich countries, but not EIT. That means parties who are there of Annex 2, they will be providing financial resources because they are capable to do so, and they will take all practicable steps. Remember, here it is practicable, but this is not binding on them. It is left to their moral discretion whether they should be doing enough or not. So you see, nothing is there in the world to put a stick to their heads so that they can work properly, but we are just talking good things. Let's see how it works. But non-annex parties are not annex 1 parties are developing countries. So like India, or for that matter Brazil, they are looking forward to stopping or mitigating, or you can say controlling climate change impacts. But as at the same time, these will be the countries which are low-lying coastal countries. These will be the countries which are prone to desertifications, or the countries which are having lot of fossil fuel production, like India, because India is in a growth stage. Though our total emission is high, but our per capita emission is very low. That is why we are not having any kind of binding. But countries like US have not been happy with Indian status. They claim India is actually emitting a lot and it must be punished. Similarly, LDC, as I just said, least developed countries, special consideration will be given to it. That is special and differential responsibility, you can say, or you can say technology transfer activities will be therefore. That means the technology from countries like Denmark, countries like Japan, countries like US, countries like Germany, it will be given to least developed countries, and in that case they will try to develop what I should say, a kind of an indigenous system by which these countries can thrive and survive on their own. So emission trading, as I just said, that is for limiting and accepting targets. They are discussed in terms of AAU. That is, you can say, a term used for it. Similarly, emission trading, it is as given in Kyoto Protocol. If you have units to spare, then you can sell these excess capacity. So new commodity, or you can say new market, was created, that is called carbon market. Now this carbon market is of certain consequence and use till we are talking about the first stage, that is Kyoto Protocol stage. When today's time we talk about, then Paris, after Paris Agreement, one is talking about what will happen to the carbon market of the previous time. Similarly, other terms which are used here is, this is very important from examination perspective. For example, LULUCF. Now this term is linked with land use and land use change and forestry. That means how the land is used. Is it increasing carbon concentration or is it minimizing carbon concentration? So you just remember LULUCF. Similarly, emission reduction unit and certified emission reduction, these are the keywords which are related with emission trading, as we have already discussed. CDM, as we said, that it is a very important mechanism. It is a very important protocol. In that sense, it can help in development of technology, for example wind energy, solar energy, carbon gasification, or you can say biogas projects, and so on. Even rural electrification or solar panels, these will be the part of CDM. CDM is a very important mechanism, and India have been at a forefront, but because of certain issues, because of certain inherent features, you can't say that India is one of the forward countries which have been receiving lot of technology transfers or lot of CDM projects. But yes, India is having a very vital stake and interest. Now joint implementation, as I already said, that it is linked with a country, two countries which are rich or industrialized countries. They will emission reduction, or you can say limitation commitment, they will follow with each other. So there will be COP3, that is Kyoto. Most industrialized countries and some Central European countries, they will be agreed to legally binding the reductions, that is of an average of 6 to 8% below 1990 levels between the year 2008 to 2012. So for the first time, emission budget was discussed. That was at Kyoto in 1997, COP3. Now came Buenos Aires. Now here everybody will be talking what to do next. So there will be a plan of action for implementing Kyoto Protocol. But nothing much will be happening. Everybody will be talking, everybody will be discussing what to do in future. But are they really doing? That is the key point. Here, two key things is that Argentina and Kazakhstan will come forward and they will show their commitment to greenhouse gas reduction obligation. Here key point is that they are non-Annex 1 countries. That means they are the countries which are not having any binding, but they are still doing it. Then there is a COP5, that was at Bonn, Germany. That was really a technical meeting, nothing achieved. Similarly, the Hague, Netherlands, here discussions will be turning into major political issues. For example, US is going to ask that if I am the boss, if I am the big country, I must be getting the right. Even if I have my own carbon sinks, that means if I am creating my own mechanisms in my own backyard, then I must be given credit for it. But then there will be disagreement because things will be going haywire. US is resisting, US is showing rigidity. That is why nothing much will happen. Similarly, at COP6 Hague only, it will be discussed by other countries also that what US is doing, is it feasible, but no compromise will be reaching in the end, and there will be collapse of talks. Later, it will be resuming further, and then George W. Bush, he will be rejecting the Kyoto Protocol, and United Nations will say that we are only a observer in the whole thing. But the key point is that they are the world's one of the largest emitters. Without them, it is so difficult to continue the things. Because a new idea came here, that is flexible mechanism. That means giving countries like the US and others to use already existing mechanisms, for example, joint implementations or CDM, or other ways by which they can actually work for reducing emissions. That was discussed as a part of flexible mechanisms. Countries like US will be asked that there will be no quantitative limits of whatever activities they will be taking in that regard, because kindly do it. It is for the future, it is for sustainable development. Similarly, carbon sinks. So carbon sinks, as I already said, that if you do a lot of afforestation, if you do a lot of such activities by which carbon sinkage or carbon storage is created even under sea, that will be counted as a positive activity. Now, compliance, if we talk about that, what you have done, how it is to be justified, who is going to take care if you are not doing so. That is how COP7 will be coming into picture, and that is why targets will be like, if you are having any shortfalls, then 30%, that if you are have to reduce 1 ton of carbon dioxide, then you will be reducing actually 1.3 tons. And there were other compliance actions also, but then we can say they were not forcefully implemented. And all these things can happen only with money. That is why for the first time it was thought that there must be a climate change fund. That is very important from examination perspective. And national adaptation programs for poor countries, because how they will adapt, because already they will be the one who will be facing consequences. And thirdly, there will be an adaptation fund supported by CDM levy and voluntary contribution. Now at COP7 at Marrakesh, there will be, you can say, discussions on the previous ideas, and that is what will be known as Marrakesh Accords. US will be again observer, and at the same time, you can say World Summit on Sustainable Development, that is in 2002, like you had the Earth Summit, and now after 10 years you have the World Summit on Sustainable Development. It was also taking place at the same time. At Marrakesh, operational rules will be discussed, emission trading among parties will be discussed, a compliance regime will be talked about, and it will be coming into force, and it will be legally binding also. And as I already discussed, flexibility mechanisms also must be coming under certain kind of accounting. That will also, that is New Delhi, that is New Delhi, India, COP8. COP8 is very important, and it will be asking also for the efforts to be made. And COP8 was marked by Russian hesitation. Russia was also thinking like the US whether I should join it or not, because already we have to understand that if it is ratified by 55 countries, then only it can come into force, and those 55 countries must include those countries which are actually responsible for carbon dioxide emissions, that is 55% of the total. So United States 36%, Australia, Russia, all these if don't come together, nothing can happen. Similarly, at Milan, adaptation fund was raised. This is very important for capacity building through technology transfer. Then you have Buenos Aires, Argentina. Here Buenos Aires action plan was adopted. That means what will happen after Kyoto period is over. They were talking about post 2012 time period, because they were already knowing the time is running fast and we have not been able to put into action our Kyoto protocol, and we have to discuss, we have to continue Kyoto protocol, how we have to allocate emission reductions, how obligations will be followed when the first commitment period ends. Then you have coming up of Montreal, that is Canada. You can say this is the first conference of parties serving as the meeting of the parties to the Kyoto Protocol. That means post Kyoto Protocol talks are being talked about CNP 1, because this is the first meeting in that regard. It is going to extend the life of Kyoto, discussed about the map of the future. That is why you can say COP 11, CMP 1. Similarly, COP 12, that is CMP 2, Nairobi, Kenya, nothing will be talked about. There will be protests and there will be talk about climate tourists. Rich countries are not really serious, and in spite of all this criticism, you can say procedure and modalities and in fact adaptation fund will be agreed upon. Then you have COP 13, that is CMP 3, which is known for Bali Action Plan. That means whatever have been discussed till now, it has to be put into coordinated plan. That is what Bali Action Plan will be talking about. There will be long-term cooperative action and a subsidiary body setting up to talk about what is going to be there beyond 2012. Similarly, you have at Poznan, Poland, delegates will be talking on the principles of financing fund to the poorest country. This is very important, and how the successor to the Kyoto Protocol will be talking about. Then you have Copenhagen, that is Denmark, that is ambitious global agreement post 2012 and first commitment period under Kyoto Protocol. If it is expiring, how we have to go further. Again, it was discussed that limiting the maximum global average temperature not more than 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Later on we will see that they will be talking about that actually we have to keep it at 1.5 degrees Celsius only. Then you have COP 15, that is CMP 5, Copenhagen, Denmark. It will not be achieving any binding agreement, and a 13 paragraph political accord will be talked about. Again, we have to see that the rich countries are actually not really happy the way it is happening. They are not ready to see beyond their self. It is notable because of commitment made by the developed countries, including forestry and investments, but how far they're going to do it, that is we have to see. Then you have COP 16, that is CMP 6, which is called Cancun, Mexico. So outcome will be US 100 billion per annum green climate fund and climate technology center. Two key things are coming up, and the base year was discussed as 1990. Similarly, at Cancun only, it was recognized by the IPCC fourth assessment report that the goal of maximum 2 degrees, you can say warming, is very, very important, and the urgent action must be taken. Poverty eradication among the developing countries must also be to be seen. It is not that only rich will suffer. In the longer run, if the poor are going to suffer, rich are also going to suffer. That is what is they are talking about. Similarly, at COP 17, that is CMP 7, legally binding deal will be done. I am taking up the key points from every COP, or you can say CMP, so that you can remember them from examination perspective. So the idea of Green Climate Fund, which I've already discussed, this was being also part of Durban conference, and legally binding negotiations were also taken up here. After this comes Doha, that is CMP 8 or COP 18. This is called Doha Climate Gateway because further talks were taken up. So the idea here was that the period from 2012 to 2020 must be usable in terms of reducing global carbon emissions, even if there is lack of commitment from Japan, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, New Zealand, or US, Canada. Still, at least 15% of CO2 emission must be curtailed. So the language in terms of loss and damage because of climate change issues or consequences was formalized for the first time. And the conference was not making any gateway ahead in Green Climate Fund, so you can say fund was only on paper. Then we have Warsaw Mechanism. That means again it is in terms of weak, or you can say lesser developed or poor countries, that is aid and expertise to developing countries in terms of natural extremities, heat waves, and so on. And a new important word was coined, that is INDC, that is intended nationally determined contribution. And there was at Lima a INDC pledge. Every country will have to determine how much and what they are going to do, whether it is legally binding, you can say so, but how a country is going to do it, that is own country's initiative. That is how at Paris or you can say COP21, CMP11. Negotiation resulted in Paris Agreement on 12 December and measures to be counted from 2020. Agreement will come into force in 2016, and from 2016 onwards, you can say everything will become more serious because the 55% countries have already agreed to the same. So the long-term temperature below 2 degree, efforts will be towards 1.5 degree, and also reducing emissions as much as possible to balance between human activities and also removal of carbon sinks. Now Paris Agreement, if you talk about, then it will come into 2020 into force. Climate neutrality by 2050. Clean technologies are the key part. 2 degree I have already told you. 1.5 degree is the goal. Role is of forest in that sense. Climate damage, for the first time ever, agreement has taken up into picture, but liability or kaun bharega, this has not been talking about. Every 5 years countries will have to revise their emissions. ये भी किताब की बात है. We have to see whether it will happen or not. Which country will provide minimum 100 billion? That is also we have to see. But India will be taking up the promises. It will be taking up. If you read it carefully, you will find many key elements from examination perspective. Very important. Not only reducing but also promising renewable energy, additional carbon sink, better adaptation, and in that reduce emissions, reducing emission from waste and so on. We have also here talking about what other countries are doing: EU, USA, China, Australia and Brazil. You can have a look and read it carefully. Then COP22 or CMP12 and CMA1, like the way we are talking the word CMP for Kyoto Protocol, similarly post Paris Agreement, this is CMA1. That is how the terminology will be used. Don't get confused and use it carefully if it comes in examination. So countries will be giving them 2 years. Technical work, produce guidance and question work plan will be there because NDCs are there in picture. Then 5-year plan, as I already said. 100 billion I have already talked about, and all these ideas of sustainable development, that is in these years, that is in 2020 we are talking about. We have to look back and see how much has been implemented. Similarly, COP23, CMP13, CMA1 and 2, Bonn, Germany, it is going to talk about Talanoa dialogue because for the first time small island developing state assumed presidency of the negotiations. You can say civil society is also going to play some role, and the countries which are going to bear the burnt of climate change like Maldives, they are coming into picture. Similarly, at Katowice, Poland, conference agreed on the rules. So rule book is going to be coming into picture for the first time. That is what you have to remember. And quality work is the key. That is what is Silesia Declaration, that do quality work so that you don't suffer in the future. In that sense, you can say that the Madrid and Spain, which we were talking about at the last, you can say that rule book, which is yet to be finalized, carbon market and individual countries target remain unresolved, and question of the new carbon markets, which will cater to Paris Agreement and future, they are also coming into picture here. Finally, here we can say that the Chile Madrid is also asking for time for action. So what we have actually discussed, there are certain gases called greenhouse gases. There is something called Kyoto Protocol. There is a role of countries like US, which they have not taken up seriously ever. There is something called common and differentiated responsibility. That is for countries like India or the least developed countries. US and other rich countries are crying that India and China must also pay, which is not possible because of their poverty levels. This treaty is the only climate change treaty, but it is not legally binding. Everything is being talking about. First commitment period have been a failure since post Kyoto, you can say period 1997 onwards till 2012, nothing much was achieved. Then everybody said hurry up and let's do something. So Paris Agreement coming into picture, but then still also big targets are being spoken about, but let's see how they will be achieved. Green Climate Fund is there. Fund is not adequately utilized. Climate change technology transfer is very much key to the whole thing, as I already discussed, but then we have to see how much it have been done, whether it is gasification, whether it is biogas plants, whether it is carbon sequestration, whether it is solar energy, whether it is wind energy. All these things are part of the whole process. Unless each country is going to leave their vested interest, nothing much can take place. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time and also your energy for understanding the same. I have already only discussed the evolution, which is very crucial for understanding for examination. I'm looking forward to your feedback, comments, or any kind of suggestions. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful time in studies. God bless you for success in examination.